For more perspective on the summit, I'm joined by Daniel Wagner, CEO of the business consulting firm Country Risk Solutions. Thanks for joining us. So with the APEC summit having just started, what do you think the meeting will accomplish?
If we look at some of the accomplishments of previous APEC summits, it's sort of fair not to have high expectations. One of the biggest issues now is that APEC was originally formed as a body which was designed to promote cross-border trade and investment. And what's happened, particularly over the last decade, is that it's become highly politicized. All of these political issues are getting in the way of making progress for what they originally intended to do. I don't expect that that's going to be any different in Vladivostok this weekend.
Now, at last year's summit, much was made of establishing a free trade zone. Do you think that possibility could happen in the near future?
That seems to me to be a longer-term objective. If we look at the number of APEC members, if we look at the very different perspectives that so many of them have on a variety of issues, I think that's a longer-term plan. And it's been in the works for many years, but it is just unrealistic to assume that it's going to be a near-term achievement. One of the issues here, Matt, I want to bring up is that there are so many trade agreements that are in place between individual nations that the idea of establishing a free trade agreement on a broader regional basis implies perhaps undoing some of those bilateral agreements, which will complicate the effort greatly.
Now, President Obama wasn't attending this year because he's set to give his speech at the Democratic Convention. Do you think his absence will affect the work of the U.S. delegation?
Oh, I don't think so. Secretary Clinton and the others attending on behalf of the United States are very well versed in all of the issues and very capable of achieving their own objectives and promoting the larger objective of APEC. And I think that's really what the members in general ought to be focusing on. They ought to be focusing on how they can identify the common themes that unite them rather than focusing on the few issues that divide them.
Now, earlier you brought up politicization of the APEC summit. Do you think that these days it is possible to escape or separate the politics from the economics, or do you think things like Syria and Iran are bound to cause stumbling blocks when these nations try to get together on this level?
It's a good question. In fairness, politics and economics have become inextricably linked. That certainly has been enhanced over the past decade. However, it really, in my mind, just requires a little bit of focus. The politics and economics, the linkages between them, they're not going to be going away. So it's going to require additional effort on the part of all 21 APEC members in order to get to the finish line. I'm of the opinion that they all want to get to the finish line. If they can just put some of these divisive issues aside, I think they have a good chance of achieving some of their core economic objectives.
Finally, overall, do you see APEC countries developing a new approach that could shape policies in the region?
Yeah, I'm not so sure I see a new approach developing. You know, one of the challenges that Asia has is that it is among the most diverse regions in the world. And it's sort of like if you try to get 21 people together to try and dance in unison, it's going to be difficult no matter how talented or how devoted they all are to achieving that objective. I would like to think that China will be a productive, constructive force going forward. Part of what's going on here is that the very
All right, apparently we've lost that video link there, but that was Daniel Wagner, CEO of business consulting firm Country Risk Solutions.